Morning, guys. Okay, so today is a little bit more about normalizing time travel and how we are doing this every single time. So I've already said this, but I want to kind of go back a little bit and talk to you a little bit more about how it's done and all that good stuff, right? So let's talk a little bit about how reality is, okay? The spirit world, or behind the veil, is what upholds and will animate the carcass or the created world outside. Okay? One is always giving, the other is always receiving. Okay? One is always giving, the other is always receiving. The reason it's important to know this is because the truth is, without this understanding, if you only have an external focus, and this is what Neville Goddard and everybody else is trying to teach you, right? If you have only an external focus, you will be selfish, narrow-minded, and completely unaware of how you affect the outer world. That's a fact. Right? Because everything is you, and in not knowing that everything is you, you might judge things separately, you might treat them separately, you'll keep taking, you'll judge things, you'll do all kinds of things, and every single time you are simply upholding and animating a carcass, but you are doing so from a very narrow-minded point of view. It's what we call sleep, okay? What I'm asking all people to do to really understand, okay, is to count the 10th man, okay? In Vedantic, principles, they always tell this classic story about the 10th man. And basically, it's about 10, shortened version, it's about 10 men that swim across a river, and as they swim across the river, they all get across the other side, and they decide to do a head count, and they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and they get really upset because, you know, one of them counts and the other one counts and they all count and they only count 9. So one of the men is missing, right? And so they're all upset because they only can count 9. They only can count 9, and they're all upset when someone walks by and sees that all 10 are there and notices that they're all crying. It's like, what's up, guys? What's going on? And they're like, oh, we lost one of our friends in the river. We all crossed and only 9 of us made it, not 10. Okay, so the guy seeing what happened was like, all right, do another head count, I promise. The first thing you got to do is calm down. The second we'll do the count again. So they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Boom, you're the 10th. Count yourself. And as they do it and they realize, oh, there is a 10th man, they forgot to count themselves. Well, that story, as cute as it sounds and as silly as it may seem, it's still true of you. You must count the invisible force that you are. If you do not know that exists, you are limiting your existence. You are animating everything with your state. Your state creates the outer world and upholds the carcass in that form. It takes, whereas in you are giving. Okay? So, if you understand that, then you have a totally different understanding. So I'm going to normalize some things. You guys know the story where I went to sleep. I always listen to Neville in my sleep. I listen to the Course in Miracles. I listen to a bunch of things. And I entered a world in which my dead aunt, who had been dead for several years, is no longer dead in this reality. I have explained this before. And the truth is, no one remembers this but me, because I'm the only constant, the one doing the time hopping, okay? So I would know this, all right? This is true of everyone. You guys have no idea how powerful you are and how your world is changed instantly by your state. But if you have a conditioned state of being, then that's what will appear solid, and it'll feel as if you are helpless. See how narrow-minded that is? Because you're not counting the 10th man, or the invisible side of your nature that is responsible for creating the world that you see. I time hop every single day. I set a tone at night. I decide something's going to be different. I wake up and it is. I have a friend who wanted permission to leave the country, and she was reading the news and all of this stuff about how it would take forever to get permission to leave the country. All these other couples with great legitimate reasons aren't allowed, blah, 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 blah. She had all the reasons why, right? What did I do? I time hopped us across to the place where she had already gotten her acceptance. What did I do? I went to sleep at night knowing that she had gotten her acceptance, and in less than 2 or 3 days, the woman had her acceptance. Do you understand how much power you have? But you cannot doubt because, and I'm sorry I'm yelling because I'm just so frustrated. I don't understand how people can't see this, okay? But if you doubt, you kick yourself out. Hello? You are the one creating. You are the one deciding. You cannot be wishy-washy about this stuff. You have to embrace the state so that the carcass animates outside. I hate to call it that, but that's what it is. Although it is true you are not just your body, you are more than that. Although that is true, everything that you see with your eyes cannot exist without your presence. You are the one animating the carcass. I don't know how many different ways to say this. I don't know how many different ways to say how easy it is to manifest. I don't know how many different ways I can't even with you guys. It's so easy, but it is determined by your state. Your state. You cannot go back to the old program. It amazes me. It amazes me how much I say, listen, your word, your stories, the things that you believe, the things that you keep saying in your head, that is what you're seeing outside in the 3D world. Nothing else. Nothing. Nothing else but that. Okay? And then you have the nerve to ask me about the outer world and say, but how come it looks like this? Because that's what your story is. Huh, common sense. You're not paying attention when I say the outer world only exists according to your word. The brain, okay, reproduces your story. It makes it into a 3-dimensional model that you enter. You animate the carcass. This is true all the time. It's never not true. Your state of being determines all of the other factors outside. So you do not have to work on all the other factors outside. You have to count the invisible man inside, determining what is creating outside. Can you see how easy it is? You guys, I don't understand why this is rocket science. It's a 5-year-old gets this, okay? Your state determines outside. That means your state determines how your boyfriend relates to you, how your girlfriend relates to you. Your state determines how your children are behaving. Your state determines how the outer world treats you. Your state, because you are the only constant. You are the only absolute reality, and it is forming because of you. You have to understand you are the center of your universe. Come on, you guys. When you truly get this, it's amazing to realize that you are the intelligence behind the veil and that everything forms according to your will. I fall asleep and wake up in a new timeline every day. I never say it doesn't work. And you know how I can check? Because something weird will happen. I'll go check my bank balances and it'll be a new balance. Or I'll go check and there'll be, a date that I don't remember keeping. That suddenly it's an appointment that was there or something. There will be something out of place. The reason you guys are taught, please notice what is out of place and what is out of that's different. And please celebrate that. Celebrate that like a child who just ran into a candy store and discovered the candy store is theirs. Every single time something's out of place, you have quantum leaped. This is 100% normal. See, you guys, and the reason, this is the reason I'm having this conversation, because I went up to the spirit world and I was just talking to them and I was just kind of thinking, about how we teleport. And so I was asking these questions to these masters. And they gave me the most simple answer. And when I realized it, I understood how I teleported across the lake. Okay? And the simplest answer is we project our body. And so all that we do is we can literally leave our body here. And you know how I astral project? Well, they stay in the state until they stay still, until they materialize their body on another plane. This is all, we've all been able to do this, and it makes perfect sense. And so what happens is you can leave your little 3D carcass there, and it will dematerialize eventually because it's already materialized somewhere else. You can literally watch that happen. Now, if you don't know that you can do that, do you realize how much you are missing out on by not counting the 10th man? The spiritual world makes your physical world. One does not exist without the other. But if you have a very limited view of what you are seeing, you will not understand how much control you have over that. I want you all to know how much power you have. I want you all to have your SP. I want you to have your wealth. I want you to have all these things. Why? Because the spirit already said, yes, you only want these things because they already exist in your field in the little light photons. All you gotta do is activate the little light photons. Little light photons. Direct them with your voice, with your will, and decide that is what is and that is what will be. It's so easy. Like, I just don't understand why anyone would struggle with this when all we have to do is control our state of being, so that our state of being then controls the outer world. It's so simple. You are at the center. This is true of every single person. I'm not special. I'm not a guru. I'm not anything other than me. And this me knows how the spirit world works. Thankfully, that helps me translate this to you guys. But I'm not special. I'm just like everybody else. And you all can do this. You know, a while ago, I was taught how to collapse times and collapse timelines, and it made perfect sense. It was taught to me by a Pleiadian, and she basically is from the future, and she basically just kind of did something so simple. It's collapse the timelines, and I've done this before, okay? I added my own thing. I made it my own thing, and I, you know, made my narrative and made it my own moving meditation to collapse timelines. Okay. But the most important part of that collapsing timelines is noticing what's out of place, because you guys have to understand how your brain makes the illusion. It creates from the same train track that was set before it so that you are not shocked, okay? But it's going to always be slightly different, and you must train your brain to know what is out of place, because, see, how valuable is it to you to notice that something's out of place and for you to say, oh, I switched timelines, it worked. How much more powerful is that for you to live from that state of awareness than it is to not know and be like, oh, it didn't work, and you kick yourself back out? Do you see? You all get to be right all the time. Why question it? Why doubt? Why fear? Why take that power away from yourselves and not give yourselves what you want, when what you want is as simple as your state of being? There is no out there to work on. The out there is formed by your inside. Your inside. Your inside determines what's outside. And I mean this sincerely. So, for example, someone will say, why is this person appearing this way, after they tell me their story? Okay? And I'll say, because your story made them that way. And they're like, I think I get it. I'm like, what do you there not to get? Your story is the only reality, because that story is what's created in here. And then your eyes only see what's produced in the back of your skull, in your visual cortex, and those things are determined by how you feel inside your being and the story that you're telling your blind father. And then that is what's reproduced outside. So Nothing outside exists without you. Do you understand that? And so it doesn't make sense to be worried about what that person over there is doing and what this person is doing, and if he's dating or if she's dating or what she's doing or any of that stuff. No, your job is to embrace the inner state in which you have what you have, believe that you have it, and boom, done, easy, you're dope. It's not rocket science, you guys. I wish I could tell you that it was difficult, but it's not. It's so easy. Sadly, even Einstein questioned, you know, with his smart little IQ and everything that he had, he questioned the truth of our reality. He really did. But you can't fault him for being smart. So I'm not going to fault you guys for being smart, but I am going to say, keep it simple. It's really easy. You are time traveling all the time. You are animating the carcass all the time. It is determined by you. Count your invisible man, because your invisible man is the one making all the little 3D characters, animating them and telling your story for you. It's automatic. It goes on autopilot. See how pointless it is to worry about the outside world when you are the one creating it? It is so much more powerful to know you are the intelligence behind the veil, the one that animates everything in its way. This way you are enjoying what you experience so much easier than it is when it feels as if the world is happening to you. That is a narrow-minded, physical-oriented, pointed in the wrong direction way of thinking. When the spiritual world or the 10th man or the invisible side or the other 99% of everything that you are exists there. 99%. So when you claim, I don't see that, okay, fine, but you're missing 99% of what's there. So by declaring you don't see that, then you won't. Do you see how important your word is, how creative it is, how it makes and forms everything you say? When people ask me which manifestation technique should I use, right? I'm like, I don't know, they all work. Let's find out how your brain works and we'll figure out which one's easier for you. They all work. Every single last one. Do you know why? Because as long as you put your concentrated effort and focus into something and you give it your all, it will yield a result, a positive one. You're the operant power? Yeah? These things are very easy, you guys. I don't, like, there's no excuse for you not to have your man. There's no excuse for you not to have your woman. There's no excuse for you not to have the job of your dreams. There's no excuse for you not to have any of these things. None. Zero. They were already given. You are the only obstacle. Can you understand that? That without you, nothing exists. Everything is inside, and if you learn how to pull from inside of you, you will see it outside of you, which then proves that the kingdom of God contains everything that you ever need, and you have nothing to worry about in the 3D world, because you are it. When you know this, you need nothing. Nothing. Zero. You don't even desire your SP, but your SP will desire you. See, because as soon as you stop doing that, it will do what you weren't doing anymore. It will appear outside of you. And so that outside of you must do what you did so you can see yourself. It's so simple. It's so simple, you guys. I don't overcomplicate it. You get to be right no matter what, so convince yourself and yourself alone, and you will enter the world of your choice. The material plane has already been created. It already exists. Every little thing has already been created. So what is it that we're doing? We're rearranging little light particles according to our word and our state of being, and then these little light particles reproduce a material world that we get to interact with so that we can see our consciousness on display And so the beauty of this is if you know everything is you and you're in love with yourself, you're in love with every human being on earth. Now, how you interact with these people are very different, isn't it? And you help them. And when you help them, why would you help them? You would help them because you are helping yourself. See how not narrow-minded it is? See how much more expansive it is? You're not bypassing 3D. You're making 3D your bitch. Do that. It always has been. It's your servant. It's your servant. The invisible side of you forms the material side of you. That's why it's so helpful to know that, because the material world will point you inward so you can see what you're thinking in case you ever get lost in the dream. But the waking life and the dream life are the same exact one. Okay? So, I hope this talk was helpful. I'm trying really hard to convey this. I don't want to see any more stories of, I don't know what to do. No. We're going to come back off of that plane and we're going to get ourselves together and we're going to remember who we are. And we're going to remember that we animate the world and that we are the light of the world. And this is true. You are the light of your world. You exist at its center. You are not your body, but you get to use your body to interact in the 3D experience, which is the point of your life. But the sole purpose of our existence is to get to know who we are and what we can do and how far we take this unlimited power will actually teach you how much bigger you are than your circumstances, which is the point of our existence. This is so easy, you guys. Okay? It's the point of our existence. Take advantage of it. Stop sleeping through worlds and saying, oh, it didn't work, or how do I do this to this? Stop doing that, you guys. You guys are all powerful. You're all powerful. You have so much juju within you. And that juju animates the world around you that you see because it's all created back here. And if it's all created back there and it only exists back there, then who is responsible for what they're seeing outside of themselves? You and you alone. You and you alone. It does not make sense to go out into the 3D world, and if you don't like what you've seen, uphold that. That makes no sense since you were its creator. See how narrow-minded it is to have a very physical world? You do more damage than good whether you realize it or not. But if you know that the spirit world controls the outer world and you have a vessel that can allow you to do that, use that vessel. Okay? You know how many times someone comes to me with a problem and all I do in 2 seconds is let God handle it? And I'm like, God, you got that right. That's all I do. Next thing I know, people came back and like, I'm engaged. And I'm like, yeah, God did that. Understand, you do not sympathize by upholding the problem. You give it to God and your vessel allows you to do that. One of my clients, the reason she's my client is because she can see. She's psychic. She can see. And so one time I did exactly what I said I do. I gave it to God. And that night she had a dream and she said, Cindy, I want to continue working with you because I dreamt that because of you, I met God and God protected me and God did this and God did that. And I was like, oh yeah, she just saw what I do on the other side of the veil. You see? You all are doing that. Understand you have more power on the other side of the veil and that this 3D world, it does not make sense, right? To park in front of a tree and you move the car, not the tree. Okay, that means that you focus on the inside, your vehicle, the only thing that creates out there, and then that determines what you see out there. You have to become aware of this. You have to know this because without this knowledge, the 3D world will kick your butt. You'll be subject to it. Okay, but I'm not a 3D slave, and neither are you. Okay? Neither are you. You are determining what is made outside in the back of your skull. So, are you enslaved to your skull or have you released yourself from your prison? That's the major question. Yeah? That's the major question. Are you enslaved to your world? Is it all happening to you from inside your skull and you're unaware of it? Or are you aware that inside your skull makes everything you see outside so you have a lot more power? Yes? Okay? You have a lot more power than you give yourself credit for. Everything is you. Every single carcass is you. Okay? It is so easy to do this. I don't have words to describe how easy it is. You don't even have to figure out the how. You simply have to have a really good relationship with God. God handles it. But until you count that invisible man, until you trust that invisible side of you, that which you cannot see because you've localized your consciousness into your state of being that hardened into facts, and that's all that you're doing when you created a body to begin with in the first place. Okay? You guys realize that I've made videos in which I teach you how to make 3D images and enter them, right? You guys realize I've done that already. Take advantage of these things. Realize how your brain works. If you haven't figured out how to do that, figure it out, because that's the only thing that you're doing. You're making little slides and entering them. And you're just reproducing them in your brain, and then you enter them. So you are the only quantum technology. You are the only eternal being. You are the one that can move from state to state. You are the one that can make it so that your friend gets approved to leave the country within 2 days when the rest of the world has to wait months and years. So are you subject to your 3D world, or is it subject to you? All right? I'm sorry I'm so impassioned about this. It's just like, I don't understand why people don't get this already. It's just, it's the way it's written in the Bible. The Bible already told us how to do all this, you guys. All right, so please remember, give yourself more credit. Understand that your state of being, that's why 3D seems so real. Your state of being is the only reason it exists. Okay? Your state of being goes from the first density to the second to the third, and that's where it solidifies and hardens into facts and turns into a body. All right? They don't get it because they're in terrible pain and denial. I don't claim that for people that I work with, Kyle. No, I'm sorry. That's not true, because once I've explained all of this, it's your choice whether you want to hold on to the pain or not. But I'm not going to hold pain over people like that. That's not, no. I know that you guys are all powerful, that you guys are all healed, that you guys know that you're God, that you guys know that you're the operant power of your own reality. I'm going to hold that. I'm not going to disempower you in the least, okay? That's not where I'm staying here, where everything is easy, the path of least resistance, okay? This is where I will stay, and this is where I will teach from, because all of you have this kind of power, okay? But until you realize it, until you realize how simple it is, until you realize how easy your state creates everything outside, and that you switch states from state to state to state, but your state of being is creating the carcass outside, okay? It's animating it. Okay? This is not new. This is 2,000-year-old scripture. It was left behind the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Gospel of Thomas, where you were told that your state of being animates the carcass, and once you figure out who you are, you will realize that the carcass outside is not you, and you will rise above it. That's literally what it says in that scripture, and it is true, because once you realize that you are much bigger than your 3D world, and that 3D world only exists in your mind, and that you control it with your mind, you have a very different existence, a more empowered existence. So it's up to you whether you want to do you love yourself enough to let go of the things that have hurt you so that you can enter the things that don't? That's your question. Do you love yourself enough to let go? Do you love yourself enough to let go of your old story so you can have a new story? Because the only thing on display is the story in your head. I cannot stress that enough. Every single person appears only because of your story. So if you keep telling a story about some guy being a scoundrel or being a womanizer or being whatever, he will always appear that way to you, okay? Mind you, other people can have other concepts of him and they will see that version instead. So it's up to you. Which version do you want to see, since everything outside of you is your mirror? It's your mirror. Like, time and space is a mirror. What you're thinking inside of here then goes into the mirror, and that's where you live from. It will appear real because you are at its center and your state of being is animating every single carcass. Okay? That's it. As soon as you change your state of being, the carcass itself will change with you. You must discover this. Alex isn't on because she's a new mom, okay? But she's the queen of this. When an argument or something breaks out in front of her, she steps away, she changes her state. When she comes back, the people are apologizing to each other. Okay? You have to believe in your state of being above all other things. You have to trust and count that invisible man that is responsible for the carcass and the way it's animated. But it's all you. The secret to life is knowing that you are the only one in the reality. You, okay? But I don't mean you as in, don't think you as in this, okay? I'm talking you, God. That is in all, through all, and is all. That you. Don't forget to count the 10th man. Don't forget to understand. There are teenagers, you guys, that have discovered that they can quantum leap, and they take a shower and they wash off their old reality, and they tell themselves this, I'm washing off my old reality, and then they walk out, and because they already accepted that they're in a new reality, they get to be in a new reality, and they're making little TikTok videos about it and how easy it is. So we have zero excuse, because if teenagers, children, can do it, we can too. Okay, but you have to understand your power. You have to get that. There is no excuse for not having your man, your girlfriend, whatever. Nothing, because it's all determined by your state. You animate the whole thing. When you understand you have that kind of juice, now you have 5D power. You have behind the veil power. You understand. But here's the thing. You have to know everything is you, because otherwise you'll abuse that power, right? So you're not allowed in until you understand everything outside of you is you. Once you get that, then you get to animate the whole carcass, the whole thing. And you read their minds. You read their minds. You know what every single one of them are thinking. Why? Because they're all you and your bodies. You have so much juice behind the veil. No idea how much. Okay? But all of you by now, especially people in my class, they should be able to be telepathic. They should realize how they animate the carcass, and their desires are coming to them much faster and quicker because they know that time and space is also a man-made creation. So these are things that are automatic byproducts of your knowledge of who you are when you apply these things and you discover these things. But first you have to learn how to apply them. Okay? But you and you alone, that's it. The reason it feels so real is because you're at the center. Okay? So, didn't mean to rant, didn't mean to be so impassioned about it, but I'm at a loss here. It should be really easy, okay? So, hi, my love. Thank you. Hi from South Africa. Awesome, Sharmila. Thank you. Yeah, you guys. So, that's it. I just wanted to take a minute in your lunch hour to like really get you guys to think how much power you have and how disempowering it is for you to doubt in that power. You should never question it. Never question it. You got to stand in your faith, come strong with the kingdom, because the kingdom is controlling your outer world. Yeah? It really is. I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise. Count your 10th man. Count God in you. Every single person that comes to me with their sob story, I may listen, but I may listen to what you're saying, and I'll help you see what you're seeing. Like, I'll help you, tell you, here's your story, here's how you're making it, this is what's happening, this is how you're seeing, let me show you behind the veil. I do all of that, yes, because I can see it, right? You guys tell me a story, and then I see a 3D movie. So I see behind the veil, I see the movie, whereas you guys are actually in the movie, I see behind the movie. That's why, okay? But at the end of the day, none of that matters. What matters is you are its creator, and you are the one upholding what you see, and the only person who can end your suffering is you. If you're suffering, it's you. You're the operant power. And I can't stress that enough. I cannot disempower any human being. I cannot do that. I can, however, remind you of how powerful you are and how much juice you have behind the veil, and to count that and to know that every single day you wake up in a new reality. But if you doubt that you did, you yourself kick yourself out. Okay? Notice how much easier I accept it, and that's true. I had a very crazy thing happen to me, right? I entered a reality where my dead aunt is no longer dead. That's as impossible can get, and that's why it's so easy for me to accept the impossible can happen. I get that. All of you will have that moment. It's just going to play out differently for you guys, okay? But know that every second that if you fall asleep in the state, right, your sats, you fall asleep in the state, you wake up in the morning, you've already entered a new world. And your job is only to look for what's different. Do not doubt. If you doubt, you kick yourself out. Yeah? All right. I hope this helps. I hope you guys get a little fire in your belly. I hope you feel a little more empowered today. I hope you juju zap your world into the right place. I hope you understand that your state of being is determining your magnetism. Your state of being is determining whether or not your partner and you work out. Your state of being is determining everything you see in the world. Your state of being is determining where your kids are at. Your state of being is determining everything. Your state of being is the only thing that matters. Why? Because your state of being is the absolute reality that God will reproduce outside of you for you. He's the 10th man. He will take the invisible light and form it into something else, and you will see that. Yeah? Okay. Love you. Hope this helps. Be empowered, you guys. Like, feel those muscles, please. All right. Bye-bye.